Episode 32 of the We Are Everywhere podcast. Real quick, thank you to everyone that's been checking out the podcast, whether it's, a follow, a subscribe, a like. It means the world to me. And I love getting to do this and hear, people's stories that I know, people's stories that I don't know. And if you want to be on a future episode, shoot me an email right here. For those of you that are just listening, it's sttf.weareeverywhere@gmail.com. For episode 32, got Ian Zigel stepping up at the last minute and saving the day. What's up, Ian?
How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, and I was just like thanking you for, because I like to be more prepared on these. And, we had a last minute cancellation. So thank you for stepping up last minute and taking the slot so we didn't have to cancel. And I'm excited to hear your story because last week's episode, Shane, he's the one. Do you know Shane? Or do you know a friend of Shane?
I know a friend of Shane. I was connected to Shane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was like, hey, he just sent me your number. He was like, I got a guy for you. I was like, dope, let's go. And then found you on social media. I was like, hold up. I was like, we have a lot of the same friends, and a lot of them were from Oklahoma, which is where I'm originally from. So we can get into that as part of your story. But before we do, and this might tie into it, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Well, let's get to know Ian.
Yeah. My name is Ian Zigel. I'm originally from Miami Beach, Florida, and I'm 23 years old. I've been pretty into Phish, pretty obsessed with Phish for the past, 5 years or so. I've been going to a bunch of shows, and I feel like the more I go to, like the more I want to go to, which is
it's addicting.
It is addicting. I think it's like one of the better things to be addicted to, but
it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe. I mean, I think it's a really good motivator, like to just hustle and grind, and
Yeah.
because the more you do, the more shows you can go to, and the more you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an addiction.
So are you in Florida right now?
Yeah. So I'm in Miami, Florida right now. I've kind of moved around a bunch in the past couple of years. I grew up in Miami. I lived in Boston, and I also lived in Oklahoma City for a year recently. I was working as a brand ambassador for a brand called Love Your Brain, which is if you know the Flaming Lips and Wayne Coyne, who are like Oklahoma local legends. Wayne has his own edibles company called Love Your Brain, and I know somebody here in Miami who's a partner who I've known for many years, and I wound up doing some work with them and working as like a brand rep for Love Your Brain for a year in OKC. So that's how we have all those mutual connections, just through people I met in the cannabis industry out there.
That's cool, man. So is that the field that you're in, is the cannabis industry?
Kind of. I've bounced around in a
Sure.
bunch of different fields. So I went to college for film production.
Nice.
Which is kind of the path I thought I was going to go down. COVID kind of hit in the middle of my schooling. So
yeah, because you said you're what, 23?
I'm 23.
Yeah. Damn,
So
dude.
March 2020 was the second semester of my junior year. So that I had to sort of pivot at that point. And I wound up doing a little bit of work, just started working as a bud tender at a dispensary here in Florida, just to get something, just to do something. And
Sure.
then through that, I reconnected with a friend who was working with Love Your Brain, who graciously invited me to move out to Oklahoma and work for them. And so that was a really cool experience. I did that for about a year. And then recently I actually moved back to Florida. I'm currently working for like a sales and marketing company with like technology companies. And I'm also on the side taking classes again online related to like bookkeeping and accounting. I'm hoping to start my own like bookkeeping solutions freelance business in the next year. So I'm studying that right now.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's one of those things to where it's like it's already hard enough being like in your early 20s, like just getting out of college, trying to figure out life. You're like, what do I do? Like, how do like what? The world is your
Large.
oyster, and then fucking COVID on top of that. Like,
Yeah.
so, but shout out to you from like making moves and like, trying and different things. So I'm curious, had you ever been to Oklahoma before? Because going from Miami to OKC, I'm sure that was somewhat of a culture shock, right?
Huge culture. You took the words out of my mouth. Huge culture shock.
But that's cool that you were working with Wayne. Like, were you working with him like hands on, like, or were you like working with a team or?
Yeah, like we had a nice little small team, and yeah, I got to work with him fairly often, and he loves the gummies, obviously. So like whenever he wanted some, I would make the connections so that he could get some and stuff. And he did. I remember we got to do a really cool event with him in the Plaza District. You know the Plaza, I'm
Mhm.
sure, where they did an exhibit of a bunch of his art, which is a lot of the inspiration behind the Love Your Brain brand is how he uses cannabis and other things as part of his creative process.
Yeah.
And so we did an art exhibit with these paintings that were kind of part of the origin story of Love Your Brain. And he actually set up with like a spin art machine and spun canvases, and it was all just free. He just let people come by and put their canvas on his thing, and he would make a little piece of art. Actually, this is mine that he made for
Oh,
me.
so he made that? That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, which was super cool of him to do.
Right on, dude. Yeah, that is cool. So, didn't spend much time in Oklahoma. Back in Miami, what's I'm curious because for those of you that are watching this, I don't know when you're watching this. It might be today. It's always today. But it might not be cold is what I'm saying. But right now it is literally the middle of December and I'm in Michigan. So it's 30 degrees right here now, covered in snow. What's the weather like in Miami?
Not snowy.
No shit.
Yeah,
What
no,
do you
it's
like? 70s, 80s?
yeah, 70s, 80s.
Nice.
We get a nice little breeze here and there this time of year. Some nice wind. It's
Yeah.
kind of like I don't know, maybe like Southern California kind of weather, how it is
Mhm.
year round there. That's how it is in the winter here.
Man, I'm jealous.
Mhm.
But I will say Michigan is nice in the summer, but dude, these winters are like
Brutal.
brutal. Yeah.
It is gorgeous there in the summer.
Dude, yeah, it is. Especially up north.
Hmm.
Um, so it's funny because my first Phish show was in Miami, New Year's 2009. So I'm a little bit older than you. What does your Phish story look like? How did you discover Phish? How did you get into them? When was the first time you heard them? When did it click?
So there's kind of a bunch of different prongs because my parents, they're not really into Phish, but they were really into the Grateful Dead and did go see a bunch of Grateful Dead shows back in their day. So just through that, right, and through some of their friends, Phish was always like on my radar, at least to some extent.
You knew of them, yeah.
I knew of them. When I was 14, I was in a sleepaway camp, and my counselor was a huge Phish fan. Went to like a bunch of shows, so that was kind of my first real introduction to like their music. Like he would wake us up to like run like an antelope, something like that. That would be like the morning alarm and stuff.
That'll get you up.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that was like my first really intro to like their music. And then I remember a year later also I went to the movie theater stream of Fare Thee Well, and so I got to see Trey perform with the members of the Dead.
Very cool.
And at that point, like I still wasn't it didn't necessarily click for me yet,
Mhm.
but I at least could see the connection that the musicians had with the audience and how special it was, and like to my parents how special it was to them and how
Right.
unique that was for a band and their fans to really have like that bond.
Mhm.
So then as I got a little older, like I remember like towards the end of high school, like I was really into Radiohead, and I think it was the Baker's Dozen. I think was like the summer before I started college, And so I
Okay.
remember seeing an article about how Phish had done um, everything in its right place on Lemon Night, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then through that, I kind of started checking out just like different things, different YouTube videos here and there. So my interest was a little bit piqued. It wasn't until 2018 though that I actually got to a show, and I did my first show. The anniversary's coming up. It was the 28th of the Garden Run in 2018,
Oh, so your
and I
first show was at MSG?
was at MSG. Yeah,
Nice.
so that was really, really great. And I was able to do the first and the third night of that run. And
Very
after
cool.
that experience, I was hooked.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
That's wild. So, um, 2018 is the jumping off point for where you dive in and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, like this. And I can only see I still haven't been to MSG, and it's one of those things. I've talked a lot on this podcast about like having like those badges, if you will. It's like, you know, you hit like a certain show count, and it's like it feels like you got a badge, or like you meet a member of the band and you got a badge. It's like these like weird way to look at it. And I feel like there's a huge badge with seeing Phish at MSG, and I've just never gotten it. So that's cool that that was your first intro to it. And
Yeah,
it's cool that both of our first shows were New Year's runs. So that's kind of cool that we have that in common. Just and mine
definitely.
was in your hometown. And
Yeah.
yours is the MSG. That's cool, man. So 2018 is the jumping off point. You're like, boom, it's clicked. Like I
Mhm.
experienced it. How long after that are you just like, okay, like I'm giving Phish all my money?
So I know the exact moment that I sold my soul to Phish.
Okay.
It was Harry Hood in Providence in 2019, the end of the second set of the second show, the Harry Hood that they played. After
Okay.
that, I was like, I'm selling my soul to this band. I don't care anymore.
Doing whatever I can to see him as many
Doing whatever
times
I
as
can to see
possible.
them as much as possible.
Dude, so 2018, you're fairly new into like seeing them, but that doesn't mean I've seen people that have, you know, gotten in and then been like, okay, they have the means to just like do every show like that's from there on out. So at this point, how many shows have you seen?
I've seen 39 shows at this point. Most of them were
39.
this year. This summer, I, on a whim, last minute, decided to go just to a bunch of shows, and um, I sold coconut water and ice cold water in the lots to kind of support the lifestyle and make a little
Nice.
bread on the
Yeah.
side to keep it going.
Yeah, dude.
Which was so rewarding
Yeah.
and worth it.
It's kind of fun. I did that. Me and my crew, we did that one year. I think we were at Blossom. My mom works at a grocery store, so she's always like finding like the deals and things like when they're on ads. And right before we left, she was like, "Hey, you know, we've got these bottles of water that are on sale, like super cheap. Just like, do you guys want to take any?" Because we were driving. I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" So we loaded up with a bunch of water, like more water than we would be able to drink throughout the whole trip. And we got to Blossom. We were doing a run of shows. And I was like, "Man," I was like, "We're not gonna be able to drink all this water. Let's like try to sling some." And that was the one. And dude, they went like hotcakes. And I was like, "Dope, dude! We just made like $50." So it's kind of cool. Like if you know, you've never done something like that to be like, oh damn, like you can really just make some
Yeah,
bread out here. And that's what a lot
it
of people
works.
do.
Yeah.
And like that's their job, so to speak, at least for, you know, the 3 months that Fish is on tour.
Mhm.
So that's cool that you kind of dove in like head first. So oh, and real quick before I forget, I was gonna ask, did you ever talk to Wayne Coyne about Fish? Is he into him, or was it more of not
I
really
I
talking about
never
that?
got to talk to him about Phish, but I know that there's some connections there. Like I know that Mike covers a Flaming Lips song with Mike Gordon Band,
Right.
and a friend of mine was telling me I think that they saw like it was either Mike Gordon or Phish and the Lips at like Bonnaroo in 2003 or something like that.
Hmm.
So I know that they definitely are familiar with each other and with
Yeah.
each circles.
And I'm gonna get I can already feel it because as soon as that came out of my mouth, it's like one of those things that I feel like I should know. One of my friends from Oklahoma, as soon as they hear this part, they're gonna be like, dude, you don't know about like Wayne and Trey like meeting up or doing this or doing that. So I just, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, this is like it's something that I should already know, and I'm about to get burned major for it. But
Right.
whatever, I don't know. Maybe I do know, and I just forgot about it. But I'm sure that there's been crossover or they've met at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm ready to get roasted for it. So here we go.
I know Wayne and Les Claypool are pretty tight. Like when Primus came to OKC when I was there, I know that they were like hanging out backstage and schmoozing.
Dude,
They'd
that's
go back.
another band that I would love to see, but just haven't had the chance to. Dude, Primus, Les Claypool, he's insane.
A beast.
Dude, a beast. Insane in the best way possible.
Yeah.
I was recent. Did you watch the what was it? 25 years of South Park concert. It had like Ween and like Les Claypool. It was at Red Rocks. Did you catch any of that?
No, but I heard about it. It looked
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I watched some of it like on YouTube or something whenever it was happening. I was like, dude, this is fucking cool. So now that you're hooked, you got into Phish, you're camp counselor, you saw the first show in 2018. Up to this point, you've seen 39 shows. Are you doing the New Year's run this year, or
Yeah.
you doing it?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. So you're gonna break, yeah. So you're gonna finish out 2020 with over 40 shows in a short amount of time.
And 21 of them will have been this year.
Dude, hitting the ground running, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So with you, I'm a 3.0 kid as well. Like we've only seen Phish in 3.0. But diving in, I'm sure that you've like discovered and listened to everything from 1.0, 2.0, all this and that. What year do you find yourself going back to? Like if you're it's a weekend, you're waking up, cooking breakfast, like what's your go-to? Like, okay, I'm listening to Phish. What year are you picking?
So this time of year, December, I feel like I'm going back and listening to a lot of fall 95 and 97.
Okay.
But like throughout the year, I also listen to a lot of current Phish, like a lot of 2021 and 2022 Phish.
The stuff that's just happened, yeah.
Yeah, the recent stuff. I mean, I love the recent stuff. I love the style of jamming today and how it's evolved and how they really listen to each other now and like at another degree than perhaps they did before. Not
100%.
not to knock the 1.0 stuff because obviously it's amazing and I wish I could have been there for it.
Same.
But I love listening to the current stuff as well.
Yeah. So you would say fall 95, 97, and then all of the, more recent things like
More
fresh
recent.
off. Dude, yeah, and you touched on a point that it's they've been locked in since I'll say, well, actually I'm not going to say whenever I think they actually locked in cuz I don't want to get roasted again. But the locked in that they were in 1.0 is still like they were locked the fuck in, but now they're still locked in, but it's the evolution. I mean, it's different styles and different types
It
of
all
jams,
accumulates.
listening, and that's one of those things that kind of bums me out whenever I talk to, and not everyone's like this, but whenever I talk to like older people that, have been around and, my first show was in 92, my first show was in 94. You get some people that are like, not so much like dissing on Phish now, but they think they want it to be the same as it was, back in the day, and you can't do it's stagnant if you do that. You have to grow, you have to evolve, and Phish has done a great job of doing that.
Mhm.
And if you lose some people because they want it to be, Machine Gun Trey 94 whenever they're in their 60s, it's not going to happen. You
Right.
got to grow and you got to evolve. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I think like reinventing themselves is kind of their thing. And like I remember reading in the Phish book by Parker. I'm forgetting his last name, but
I have it. It's on my bookshelf. Let me just Google it real quick. Keep going.
they were talking about how in '94 when Hoist came out, there were a ton of the old
Yes.
fans that were like, "This isn't the band that I love. What is this pop? This is way too poppy and light and easygoing." So there's always going to be some resistance, but somebody said to me, like said it really well, that if they're putting out new material and working on new stuff, that means that they're creative and they're inspired, and that's just a good thing for all of us, because that means that the music's just going to be new and fresh and exciting and good. So
100%.
just embrace that.
And can you imagine being someone like in that era and like Hoist comes out and you're like, oh, they're selling out, man. They're done. Damn. Jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah.
The dude's name is Park Puterbach. Puterbach?
Yeah.
Park Puterbach? Sorry if I'm
About
butchering his name, but yeah. I have that same. It's funny because that was like the first book that I got on Phish, because like whenever like you're going through this, it's like your friends and your family. Like some friends are with you, and then some friends are like, "What are you obsessed
concern.
with?" Yeah, exactly. And your parents are like, "Oh yeah, what do you want for Christmas this year?" And it's like anything from Phish.com, and I want this book, and so it's like getting all of these things. That was one of the first Phish related gifts that I got, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And like read it front to back like multiple times. It's like the intro to, at least for people that got in the later time.
Mm-hmm.
So the most impossible question ever: what is your favorite jam of all time? We've heard what eras you keep going back to, what years you keep going back to, but if you had to pick, I always say desert island, you can take one jam with you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only Phish you can listen to for the rest of your life. What are you going with?
Wow, I can only pick one.
Well, let's start with one, and then we can get some honorable mentions in there.
Okay. Gosh. Just like gun to my head, first response
Yeah.
is gonna be like maybe the Riverport Gin. I could listen to that,
Dude.
over and over again.
Yeah, dude. That's a really good one. Riverport Gin.
Riverport Gin. I also honorable mention Spack Piper from 2004.
Oh, see, I wasn't this is what I'm saying. I was not expecting that, because I'll be honest, 2.0 I've kind of glossed over, I feel like I've heard what I've needed to hear, all the.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
said Spock Piper.
Yeah. The
So I'm
Spack
going to
Piper.
throw this on. 04. Wow. It's
That
in
one's
the
really good.
That one's in the belly of the beast right there.
Yeah.
Before everything just fucking fell apart.
Yeah.
Spock Piper 04. I can't say that I'm familiar with it, so I'll throw it on today.
Yeah. That's Spack Run from 2004. Both nights. Maybe I would say best 2-night run from that summer tour.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'm very familiar with the Riverport Gin, so that's a solid pick. And then now I've got some listening homework
There you go.
for today. So before we got into that, we kind of touched base on like, when you get into Phish, some of your friends are also into Phish. Some of your friends are like concerned families, like, oh, what are you seeing the same band over and over for? So I'm sure you've experienced this, like we all have, trying to get someone to understand or get it. What show, what song, what jam would you play for someone that has never heard Phish, or that you're trying to get on the bus?
Right. I think it depends a little bit on the person,
100%.
their interests, and like their music. Like if they're really into like rap and hip hop, maybe I'll play them something really groovy, like maybe like the Prague '98 Ghost or something like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe if they're into pop, I may play like I really love to show people the Niagara Falls Slave to the Traffic Light from 1995. And then if they're like all over the board and open-minded and into like prog, maybe I'll show them like one of my favorite Rebas, which is like my favorite song.
Dude, yeah. Reba boys.
Reba
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So speaking of Reba, do you have a favorite Reba of all time?
I go back and forth. Like I really love the 1994. It's in, I think it's like May 16th from like Monterey, California,
Okay.
94. Also like the Halloween 1994 one.
Sure.
Um, there's a lot of good ones from Fall 95 as well. Like I think it's 10/25/95. There's like a Reba that opens the second set.
Mhm.
That the compose section, there's like a couple flubs, but the jam is just like
Like, we gotta make up for it. Yeah.
yeah. And then more recently, the one in Vegas last year was just phenomenal. Like one of the coolest things I've seen them do live, definitely.
I remember conversations about that, but I'll have to go back and re-listen. Yeah, no, I was just curious because I found whenever I was going through in my first, couple of years, I found this Reba and I was like, oh my, it was the first time that I cried during a Phish jam.
Yeah.
And it was the Lowell. I don't even think it's actually part of the tour. I think it was like the first time they played in 95. And I'm blanking on the date right now, but it was Lowell Reba.
That one's really good too.
And I'm like driving down the road, like I-35 in Oklahoma, and like listening to this for the first time, like windows down, and I just like start crying. I'm like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And so like I get
Yeah.
back home and I'm like texting all my Phish buddies. I'm like, yo, you guys got to listen to this if you haven't already. Like it just made me cry. And the only response that I got was like overrated, like Halloween '94, like kicks its ass. And then I just like had this like spiritual moment, and they're like, "Nah, dude, it's Halloween '94." I'm like, I get it, but like, come on, overrated jam, dude.
I will validate you though. I think that's a Mount Rushmore Reba as well, the
For
Lowell
sure,
95
dude.
one. That one's so good.
So much emotion, yeah.
So much emotion.
I don't know why I'm blanking on the date right now. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm gonna say May 16, 95.
That
That's what's
sounds
pop.
right.
It sounds right, if not close.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Reba boys. So we all love Phish, hands down. But and you do see hate in, certain areas, specifically the internet.
Right.
So just to spike a little bit of controversy and to show that we can all like love slash hate slash hold this favorite thing that we have in the world to a standard. What is one Phish song that you would be okay with never hearing again?
Hmm. They could never play the line again, and I would be okay with that. It's a fine. It's not bad, but it's
Yeah, no, it's I laugh every
they have
time I
so
hear
many
that.
songs. They
Yeah,
could drop the line, and I wouldn't be mad about it.
that seems to be out of 32 episodes. That seems to be, if I had a graph, I feel like that seems to be the winner with everyone that I've talked to, and yeah, it's I'm blanking on who said it, but they said like every time they play the line, that's when the line starts forming at the bathroom. That's pretty good. Yeah, yeah, I could go without that too. I
Yeah.
think I think and not a lot of, I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with that, but then also to keep it in perspective and to be fair, there's someone out there that gotta be that the line is their favorite song, and like they play that and then they're like, oh my God, like I've been wanting this, like I've been chasing this.
Yeah.
So
One of
no
my
slight
actually
to those
a friend
people.
of mine, we were at a show and he was like, "Oh, I would love it if they played the line tonight." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I haven't gotten that one." I was like, "All right, cool."
Cool, yeah. It's one of those things. Hey, different strokes for different folks,
Yeah.
man. um so Fish is known for doing their covers. And Billy Joel, I think, was the famous person that was like, whenever they were battling for New Year's, and he was like,
Overrated cover band.
overrated cover band. It's like, yeah, they're not overrated. Two, they're not a cover band, but they do play a lot of covers. So
Really well.
yeah, really well. So what song would you like to see Fish cover that they haven't covered up to this
Haven't
point?
covered yet. Can I pick two?
Absolutely.
All right. The first one is "Carry On, Wayward Son."
Oh, dude, hold
Okay,
on.
press that.
Hold on, because I want to say 94. I want to say it was one of those like where they had like they brought out like the acoustic shit and we're doing like bluegrass stuff, I say I know. I believe they played some Kansas tunes, and that may have been one of them, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is why I need a producer for this podcast. I need a young Jamie to be like, young Jamie, look that up.
Yeah,
Uh, but okay, so Carry On My Wayward Son is one you would like to see.
I would
What's
love
the
to
other one?
do that. Paige would just crush those organ parts. It would just
For
be.
sure.
And then I know that Lamb Dies Down on Broadway is like a really popular Halloween album that a lot of people would love to see.
What is?
Lamb Dies Down on Broadway by Genesis. Um, I
Oh,
I actually would love to see them do Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. I love. There's a song on that album called The Cinema Show that I think would be really cool as well. Also, again, Paige would really shine with some really cool, synths and effects and stuff.
dude.
Um,
So I'll have to listen because Genesis is one of those bands that I've been aware of, but I've never like really dove into or listened to that much. So I'll have to
mhm.
check that out. She said Genesis, and what was the name of the song?
The Cinema Show off the
Cinema
album
Show.
Selling England by the Pound. And that's actually though that like Peter Gabriel era of Genesis, I was like kind of turned on to that by Trey and by Phish and hearing them talk about how much they love those
Uh-huh.
albums, those songs, and that is what got me to check those out. And
You're
yeah,
like,
they're
oh,
great. Yeah, it would be sick if they did that for if they did one of those albums for Halloween.
Genesis, the Cinema Show. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna get roasted for that too. But it's just one of those things that never grabbed me, you know. Every time I tried, I was like, it's just not for me. But yeah, I'll listen with fresh ears for the Cinema Show and try to imagine Phish covering it. Right on. So, um, out of your 39, soon to be 40, what, two shows? Um, what song are you chasing that you haven't seen yet?
I still have not seen The Divided Sky, and I take that personally.
Is that one of your like favorites?
Yeah. And it took me like 28 shows to get Fluffhead, which is like my all-time favorite.
Oh, nice.
I have a shirt that the movie Eraserhead?
Oh yeah, dude.
So it's the Eraserhead poster with the
Uh-huh.
font, but it says Fluffhead instead of Eraserhead.
Dude,
And I've worn that to a
sick.
ton of shows. And I know Mike is a big David Lynch fan, so I always try to
Yeah.
like Mike's side if I'm like on the floor, like look at me, like play Fluffhead. I know you'll
Dude,
appreciate this.
Eraserhead, dude. I watched that in film. Oh yeah, you're a film guy. I watched that in film class in high school for the first time. So this was like 2008, 2009. I was just like, "Whoa, like I wish I would have smoked before I came to class." Yeah. Fucking Eraserhead. That's a cool shirt. Did you like buy it on lot or did you get it on?
I got it through there's like a Facebook group I'm in that this guy, he's actually from Ireland and
Oh
he
wow.
makes like a bunch of really cool like lot style t-shirts and he has like a he's from Ireland but he ships them to the States. Let me see if I can find the name of his site so I can plug him.
Give him a
Um,
plug.
yeah. But yeah, he posted in that group the designs and I was like, this is so like niche and like exactly like my film interest, my Phish interest, like all of it on one shirt. I have to have this. So
Dude, it's yeah, Eraser. I haven't heard of Eraserhead in it's been a long time. But as soon as you said that, I was like, "Oh shit, like I can see it, you know?" So did you find him?
yeah, it's you want me to send you the link? It's QT Inc. Is the name of his site.
Yeah, shoot me the link in this I think you can is there like a comments thing on here that you see like where you can add something?
There's a private chat. Oh, comments. Here we go.
Or yeah, if you send it to yeah, either do it in or no, do it in the private chat and then I think I can pop it up here.
All right,
Let me
I just
see.
did that.
Okay. And let me see if I can share this. Every time I go to share something on a podcast, like there's like 7 different buttons you have to click, and I feel like such a like boomer, like being like, "Okay, now I'm gonna share my screen. Can everyone see this?" There it is, right there, dude.
There it is. That's the shirt.
That's awesome. So shout out to QT Inc.
Shout out
The
QT Inc.
oh, he's even got
Favorite shirt.
the knee hand, Ruby Waves, Casvot. What are your thoughts
Black
on
Flag
on Casvot?
on Casvot. Um,
Casvot.
I think there's some earworms on that album for sure. I love Scandinavian prog rock. It's actually one of my favorite subgenres.
No
So
way.
oh yeah,
So you were like, "Oh, this is my shit."
oh yeah, for sure. I'm being facetious. I don't know much Scandinavian prog rock, but
Okay. Like, damn, dude. I was like, talk about like if that's legit one of your things, like you hit the fucking
no.
jackpot with that.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, dude.
But
So you
yeah, no, I love that album.
okay? It's one of those like whenever it happened, I appreciated in the moment. I was like, dude, talk about like constantly reinventing yourself, like fucking dope. But musically, just for me, I was kind of it's my own fault because I have these expectations, right? Like we all do. And I'm just listening and listening and listening and I'm like, "Man, I'm like this is not what I was expecting." Once again, like expectations, but dude, hats off to the can you imagine any other band where everyone's in their 50s being like, what are we going to do? Let's create a fake band and an album and do that. It's like, fucking what?
It's
So
so
hats off.
creative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so creative.
The first song I ever heard live was "We Are Coming to Outlive Our Brains," which they opened the
Yeah.
Garden Room with that year, and I'm hoping they play it at this Garden Run because they haven't played it this year yet.
Ah,
I
there
love
you
that
go.
song.
We would come to and yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna shit on Casfod anymore. One of the things that I did want to bring up because I've reached out to a couple of meme pages, fish meme pages, and a lot of people that run these like to stay anonymous. You know, whether you have a if you have a controversial meme or whatever, you know, don't want people
Yeah,
knowing who you are. Um, but you, whenever we were first talking yesterday, you're like, "Hey, feel free to give my meme page a shout out." So I'm looking through these, and they're great. So, like, you want me to say the name of your?
sure, go
Yeah.
for it.
So you run Meme Hinge
hmm
on Instagram, and you've got some pretty legit memes on here. It was
Spicy memes,
what?
some spicy memes.
Some spicy memes, yeah. So, do you just use like a meme generator?
It that started for me. I think like during COVID or right before COVID. It was just like I I just started it as just like a fun outlet to just like de-stress and just I love memes.
This one's my favorite. It's fucking great. So whenever you created this, did it like instantly pop off?
It's really hard to predict what's gonna pop off and what's not. Sometimes I make one, I'm so satisfied with it, I think it's hilarious, and it'll get like 20 likes or something.
Shit.
You people have no taste, you know. But
Yeah.
then sometimes I'll make one that's like very basic, and it'll get like 1,000 likes, and it's like, well, shit, the algorithm worked out for me today, you know.
Dude, yeah, it's this yeah, I deal with that on a daily basis. So I work in radio and we're
Mhm.
constantly having, you know, social media, this and that, and we make these reels. And same thing, dude. We'll spend so much time and like get so creative and make a reel and we'll be like, dude, this one's gonna hit. Same thing, like 20 likes. And then we'll have one that we like, oh, we don't know what we're gonna do, and we'll just like throw something together and then poof, it's fucking viral. We're like, what the hell? Like there's no way to tell. Dude, this
Actually, speaking of meme pages, two people that really influenced me and got me to pull trig and go to my first show are I don't know if I should name them. I don't know if they prefer to be anonymous, but they run the meme page Fat Albert, and
okay.
they're a lovely couple out of Boston where I was going to school. They have a record store there called Deep Thoughts JP, which is like if you're ever in Boston, like definitely check it out. It's an awesome space. On Friday nights they have like a Grateful Dead night, and they have like a show in the basement every Friday night where it's like a Grateful Dead band that the
Wicked.
yeah, and it's great vibes there. Really awesome place. It's like Wook Mecca. Like the walls are just lined with it's just a shrine to the whole scene.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And they were super, super encouraging, like, oh, you got to check out Phish, like, trust us, you got to go to a show. And I thank them for that, because
You just needed a
now
little
I've told
push.
my
Yeah.
soul.
We've all we've
Push.
all done it. Oh man. So with you know hearing your story, if you've been seeing Fish for any length of time, or you could have been to one show and you're going to come away with 100 different stories. You're going to see things that you never thought you would see. You're going to interact with people and be pleasantly surprised, like, hey, there is still good in the world. You're going to interact with people and be like, wow, these people suck. So it's kind of all over the place. It just depends
Mhm.
on, I guess, how you're looking at it. So from the time you started seeing Fish up until this point right now, what are some of like some of your favorite memories that you've made, or like crazy things that you've seen? It could be at a show, it could be road tripping to the show, it could be in the lot. Just what are some of your favorite memories that you've had so far with?
That's a great question. I mean, so many great memories and great friendships that I've formed just through going to these shows and through this amazing community and people I've met. Like, at my second show on the 30th, I lucked out. I was able to get a pit ticket for that show on the 30th.
Nice.
And
Someone just like miracled you with it, or you like
it was like a Christmas present.
nice?
And I met a good friend of mine. I literally just parked on the floor, and then he parked right behind me, and we just started talking and hit it off. And he's like one of my best friends in the world. We've gone to a bunch of shows together since, and I know we're planning to celebrate our friend anniversary on the 30th this year.
Anniversary. I love that.
But yeah, like, you see so many crazy things. Like, I remember that Providence show
Uh-huh.
with the Harry Hood, like, coming out of the show. Um, I was definitely pretty altered that night, in an altered headspace, and there was this woman on the stairs who was like had some like dark energy and was like whacked out on meth or something, and she wasn't wearing shoes. Right? It was freezing
Oh,
out. It was like 12 degrees outside, and I was like, I just remember I like went up to her and I was like, whatever you do, you take care of your shoes. It's the one thing. Like, take
she was
care of
like, I don't have any.
your yeah. I don't know.
Damn, dude.
I don't think she even heard me.
Yeah, probably not. She was like, yeah. Dude, it's one of those things. You speaking of like energy, whenever you are, I guess you don't even have to be altered, but like especially whenever you're altered,
Mhm.
this happened to me a few times because I mean every scene, not to get like too woo woo, but like every scene has to have like it's like the yin yang, right? There's so much love and love and light, and there's also like this dark corner of the scene that I would argue needs to exist and be regulated for it to be fully what it is. Um, and coming across, there's been multiple times, whether it's on the lot or actually in the show, wandering around and you find yourself in a space and you're like, oh, this is a pocket of bad. Like I need to get out of this. And then
Yeah,
like other times you'll wander up and be and like you're like, oh my God, like this
yeah.
feels so good. And I think that's like an interesting dynamic
Mhm.
to all of this because on at face value, you look at it's stereotypical of Fish. Oh, it's hippy dippy, everybody loves everybody. And there is a lot of that, but there is also this little tinge of darkness in the
Dark.
scene that,
Absolutely.
you know, you see some people that get overtaken with it and then that's what they are and it kind of poisons them and then it's just whenever you're encountering that, it's best to just acknowledge it and be like, "Yep, this is a part of it for sure," and then
And it's not
see ya. See ya.
Yeah, I always like I think of it as like a big Where's Waldo, right? Like
Yeah,
the whole crowd. Like, there's so much of everything, and I love when people come as a character and they're really committed to the bit. Like in Philly this year, there was this girl dressed up as like a hot dog vendor at like a baseball stadium, and she was
I
giving
saw
out
that.
these like gummy hot dogs to everybody, and she was just like so like committed to the bit like throughout the run, and
Yeah,
she was just awesome. I love people like that just like that show up and they're like, okay, I'm gonna be this character.
yeah. It's like a carnival, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I did. I remember seeing pictures of that, and I was like, "Oh, wicked!"
Yeah,
It.
she was hilarious.
I remember taking my girlfriend to her first show, and her only interaction to, or knowledge of the scene was what I've like showed her and like what she's seen like online. And so s- tying it back into like people dressing up and things like that, and she was like, well, I don't have like any costume, like I don't have anything to wear. And I was like, no, 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 no. I was like, you don't. I was like, do you think that I dress up when I go? I was like, you don't have to like glitter out and like wear butterfly wings or dress up like a hot dog event. Like you go in your street, like you go what's comfortable. Like these people are doing that because like that's what they want to do, and they know that they can do that in this space and not be like, oh, look at that weirdo. It's kind of like free to do what you want. So I was like, wear normal clothes. I was like, you don't have to do that to go. And she was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah. It's like there's people there in normal clothes. There's people there wearing Chewbacca masks. I was like, whatever floats your
Pretty
boat.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Wooks for real. For real.
Yeah.
What are some other memories that pop into your head, or crazy things that you've seen, or just like amazing things that you've seen?
Yeah. So actually, this summer I had a really heartwarming experience where um, we went up to Bangor, Maine for the Saturday show. That was where I got my first fluff head. Finally,
Nice.
amazing show. They also played like a sick like 30-minute Down with Disease. But the day after,
Yeah.
I actually so they gave us, this was unusual, but the schedule Sunday and Monday the band was off, and then they were back on Tuesday in Philly, and so it was like, oh, like they gave us this Sunday to explore Maine. Like let's explore, because I love Maine in the summertime and Acadia National Forest.
I've never
So
been.
you got to go. It's so gorgeous in the summertime. Um, yeah, Maine is great. It's really cold in the winter, but in the
Oh, I'm
summer
sure.
it's perfect. Like the breeze is really nice, and you can hike and pick fresh blueberries and eat lobster
Yeah, dude. It sounds awesome.
and we went up to Acadia National Park on that Sunday and just did a bunch of hiking. And just this is one of the things I really love about about the whole Phish community, is like you can just be on a hiking trail and see someone else in donuts who you've never met before, and it's like you're my best friend now, and we're going up this mountain together and talking the whole way, you know.
Yeah.
So we met some really cool people, and there was this one guy. His name's Pete. He's a friend of mine now, and he was sharing with us that like he had been going through like a battle with cancer, and
Mm,
was given like a death sentence that he had
fuck.
outlived, and was just against the odds, and like now like climbing this mountain together. This was like his first time in years like doing anything this like physically like demanding, and we were
Right.
all, like climbing the mountain together with him, and like dragging our weary shit asses up the mountain together, and supporting each other, and it was like
Nice.
such a beautiful like moment to share together. um,
Yeah.
and that was like that really touched me, left an impact on me.
Because I mean, at that point, like you touched on it, it's like you're part of your family. I mean, as corny as it sounds, like we're all we're all in this together.
Yeah,
Um, and especially with him outliving his quote unquote death sentence, like he's like, yo, I'm on borrowed time, like let's do this, and then like you're getting to experience that with him. That's that's next level. And it's one of those things that, like you can't, like you can explain it, but like that feeling, like I can imagine like what that felt like for everyone involved. That's pretty
yeah,
fucking cool.
yeah, it was really special for sure.
That's awesome, man. Um, anything else before I let you go? Anything else you want to share? Any other meme pages you want to plug?
I'm trying to think, like what are some other like great Fish memories
Yeah,
that
it's hard like
are
to
like,
on the spot like be
yeah,
like, oh, because you've seen so many crazy things, right?
for sure. Yeah,
So
dark and light, like you say.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Just like people. It's not everybody, but a lot of people are super, super kind, and just random acts of kindness, and it's awesome to see that, and it feels good to to do that now and then when you can as well, and just pay it forward. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you done any of the Dick's runs? Were you there last year?
In 2021
Or
or
no,
this year?
I'm sorry, this year. I'm
I
getting ahead of
wasn't there
myself.
this year, but I
You were
was
there
there
in
last
20.
year.
Gotcha. I was gonna say because the first time this year for the first time, and it may not be the first time that they were there, but it was the first time that I had caught them on Shakedown, the big ass fucking parking lot. Not the main parking lot, but like the dusty Shakedown. This year there was a pizza food truck there, and it was one of those things like it was like one of like the best pieces of pizza that I've got. It's like those New York style, like where the pizza's like this big and like you're like carrying it around like on a plate that's this big. And dude, it's one of those things to where I normally, whenever I'm on the lot, like most of my money goes to food. I don't really buy shirts or anything like that. I'm just like, hey, I want to try all this different food and stuff. And I came across this and it was such a hit. And I don't know how they didn't run out because like you carrying around this slice and it looks like it came from like this like amazing like pizzeria and it came from this food truck and everyone's like, yo, where'd you get the pizza? I'm like, go 3 rows down, walk about 40 feet that way. It was just one of those things where it was like, dude, this is like what I'm looking forward to for the next Dick's run. Just the fucking pizza. And I'm bringing that up because I was going to say, if you were there, I was going to see if you saw it and if you remembered the name because I've looked up, I don't even know if they were from Denver, but I've looked up Denver food truck pizza, like Dick's 2022 pizza, and like looking at people's, pictures, trying to see if I can see the name on it. So I was going to see if you were there and if you remembered that, but you weren't there.
I wasn't there,
So
but I
anyone that's listening, if you were at Dick's this year and you had some pizza from the food truck, what was the name? I'm trying to find out. Yeah, man, it's
yeah,
crazy. The food, the I was gonna say the swag, but I guess the scene with Shakedown, the dark, the light, it's just I always feel like I just repeat myself when I'm talking about it because it's like it say the same thing over and over. But it's one of those things where if you haven't experienced it, you got to experience it.
you do. There's some elements that can't really be put into words. It just has to be seen to be believed.
100%.
Experienced.
Speaking of that, have you caught them at the gorge?
No, but I know that it's rumored that they're playing there the weekend of June 2nd next year, and
Oh, I love rumors.
my birthday is June 2nd. So if they are playing there my birthday weekend, I may have to send it over there for that.
Dude, you have to. I've been one time, and I think it was 2018, 2019. Yeah, no, 20. It was either 2016, 2017, or 2018. I don't know. But it was my first time there, and it's one of those things like we've all seen pictures of the gorge, right? But like you have to first off you have to camp, and like the walking from camp to
Up
the
that
gorge,
hill.
like yeah, you're walking up the
Yeah.
hill, and as soon as you come over, you're like, what? Like caught myself just looking at the gorge, like while Phish is playing, just like looking at the gorge more than I was like looking at the band. It's just like,
Yeah.
dude, it'll take your breath away. It's one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. So if
I
they
have
do play on your birthday, you
yeah.
gotta go.
I haven't seen Phish there, but I actually my dad and my little brother and I went to the gorge a few years ago to see Dead and Company there, and that was.
Oh, so you have been to the gorge.
I've been to the gorge, but I haven't been to Phish at the gorge.
Sitting here letting me explain it, and you're like, oh yeah, I've been.
I didn't want to interrupt.
I guess I did say, have you seen Phish at the gorge? You're
Yeah,
like, no. I was like,
no,
well, let me tell you about it. And you're like,
yeah.
yeah, I know. That's great. No, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dead and Company, that's because you said your parents kind of like they were into the Dead first. So like how many Dead and Co shows have you been to?
Um, I think I've seen Dead and Co. like 8 or 9 or 10 times. Definitely a few
Gotcha.
times over the years.
With your parents or just like solo?
Some with my parents, some when I was living in Boston, some Northeast shows that were close by and stuff that
Hmm.
I was with friends and stuff.
So help me out with my math here. So you said you're 23. What year were you born?
99.
Okay, 99. Because I was gonna ask if your parents like took you like as a kid or like as a baby to like any like OG Dead shows, but I guess you missed that boat a little bit. Damn. So
Now, like they like got their shit together and started a family after the Dead finished, you know?
yeah, because you see pictures and like you even see now like at Phish, like people like you'll see babies there like with the big headphones on and stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's cool. Like
yeah,
at some point, because I was alive when Jerry was alive. And if my parents aren't deadheads or anything, but I've always wondered like, what it would be like to be at a show as a kid. Obviously, you're not going to remember it depending like how young you are,
right.
but just like to have that picture of like you being a baby at a Dead show, like wearing the earmuffs and everything. It's like gives you one of those badges I was talking about earlier. You got street cred. You're like, I saw Jerry, man.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't remember it, but I saw it.
I met somebody this summer who's my age, whose parents are super into Phish, and so he's been going to see Phish since he was like 9 years old, and he vividly remembers like Jones Beach 2012. I remember he told me it was like one of his favorite concerts that he's seen.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
and he was like 12 or 13 years old back then.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to think that, I don't have any kids, but whenever I do, assuming and hoping and praying that Phish is still a thing, I would like to think that I would at least take him to one, just to have that memory of being like, yeah. So whenever you're older, you can be like, yeah, I saw Phish with the original lineup. Okay, Ian, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and talking Phish. It's fun. I'm glad that I got to meet you. And whenever we get some summer tour dates, let's stay in touch and maybe we'll catch a show and meet in real life.
definitely.
Right on, man. Thank you so much. Enjoy the beautiful weather in Miami, and I'll enjoy freezing my ass off here in Michigan.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me on, Clay.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.